why the present Yonko system is perfect. What's good, y'all? You Dub back here again, here in 2022. Let's get it. Now, some may be confused by the title. Perfect? How could you say that? Wonder, what are you talking nonsense? You know what I'm talking about. You don't know what I'm talking about. You know, pump the brakes. Others be like, you capping for Oda. You just Oda dick right. Pump the brakes. Alright? Chill. So here's the thing, right? Anyone who has a problem with the present current format of the Yonko, current state of the world of One Piece, one, I don't think you've been paying attention. No disrespect, I just don't for the last decade and what's been coming. Two, narratively, I know you ain't been paying attention for what Oda's been cooking in the pot and stirring for the last 25 years. And three, you don't understand power. As well as four, you don't get what the Yonko actually represent. And five, your expectations and your perception is exactly what Oda has baited you into this entire time. Yeah, I said it. Oda has been playing you like a fiddle. He's been playing you like the fiddler on the roof, like Charlie Daniels and Devil Went Down to Georgia, like Puss in Boots. Oda has been setting up an entire chessboard and has gradually shaken it up, thrown the board over, and reset it to where it should be. Now, what do I mean, right? So Oda set up, he slowly rolled out the Yonko system. And I think it was a wise move for him to utilize the Shichibukai instead of just jumping into the Yonko system. He didn't make the fatal flaw that a lot of writers, a lot of authors, a lot of manga could do. It just introduced the big dogs and did boom. Unless you're doing a short story, even then you don't have usually enough time to flesh things out. So he slowly rolled out the Yonko system. We don't get the Yonko system until the end of right after in his lobby, right? And Garp, Vice Admiral Monkey D. Garp introduces it. Luffy's grandfather, one of the most influential men in the world, right? By the way, I'm going to do a trilogy of videos dealing with the 10 most influential characters in One Piece. One is going to be pre-time skip, starting at the beginning of the series. Then it's going to be post-time skip, right after the time skip, and then within, and then post-Wano. So stay tuned for that. But anyways, so we get introduced to Yonko, the foremost infamous of powerful pirates. Now, the shit got hyped to holy hell. Reasonably so. But it got hyped. Keep that in mind. The hype. We don't even... Then, we knew of Shanks because of Chapter 1, Episode 4, right? Romance Stop. We see Chapter 432. The meeting of Whitebeard Edward Newgator and red-haired Shanks on the Moby Dick, right? Big, Clash of Conquerors hockey. We get, the whole thing transpires with Firefist Porticus Diaz, Blackbeard Marshall to teach on, I don't want to say Baltigo because that was Banara. I believe it was Banara Island. Anyways. And the whole thing. And then we see Marineford and all that play. We don't even get introduced to Big Mom Charlotte Linland until Fishman Island. Now we hear of her, or the allusion to her because of Thriller Bark with Lola. We don't get introduced slightly to that Fishman Island. Then it takes about another 200 chapters to really get introduced to Charlotte Linland. Kaido, we don't even meet him till chapter 795. He was completely a mystery. Hell, Oda did a fool with the whole silhouette aspect. We didn't even know what Kaido looked like. 700, almost 800 chapters. We didn't really meet two of the Yonko. Think about it. Think about it. And Teach, I'm just gonna put aside him and Shanks. We still don't even fully know about them. Even though we've known Shanks since chapter 1, and Teach really got, first allusion to the introduction in Drum Island, which I tend to forget about, where people remind me. And then we meet him, fully in Jaya, but we don't even know that much about him. See what I mean? Oda has been slowly doing this rollout. Okay. Now, here's the thing about it before. Let's look at the infamous pirates and such figures beforehand. Joy Boy slash Nika, right? Back, but that an anomaly. As far as we know, maybe there were other pirates and whatever. Legendary figure, but failed. Then 400 years later, you have Nolan. Even though he was in a pirate, he's an adventurer still. Nolan made a splash, gets executed. People have juxtaposed Nolan with Roger. Several YouTubers you respect. And I know people have done videos about the Yonko, about Buggy and more, but they haven't done it in this regard, right? So we get that. Then you get, about 100 or so years ago, you get the 140 years or whatever it is ago, you get the giant pirates. Over time, we've had these legendary figures. Maybe there were likely other pirates, but got more legendary figures that stood out in the annals of history. But you didn't have this explosion. Then you had Rox D. Zebek. And sure, there were other pirates, I'm sure, they joined him, but he was able to, garner Big Mom, Charlotte Linlin, right? A young prime Big Mom, a young Kaido, right? A young Edward Newgater, a young Whitebeard, a young Golden Lion Shiki, a Wang Ji. Shout out to Tekken for Wang Ji. Silver Axe, Captain John. Trying to think, there might have been one more. But, big legendary figures that came up after, and the whole God's Valley incident. Time you had Goldie Roger on the rise, becomes the great pirate later, right? But then we see out of that era, Goldie Roger, Whitebeard, Edward Newgater, Golden Lion Shiki, right? Started to arise. And you hear of all the Rocks pirate. The Captain John, eventually he dies. Silver Axe died. We don't know about Wang Ji. Rocks may or may not be alive, right? But we haven't heard anything from him. Shiki hasn't been active, at least in this canon story, for like 20 years, right? 22 so years. Uh, you know, the whole thing with Shiki and after Rogers captured after he turned himself in and death, Shiki went in, the whole Impo down, cut off his legs and all that jazz. Tried to, team up with Newgate, had tried to team up with Roger. You had, Linlin and Kaido slowly erode. Well, Linlin was rising, even during Roger's time was on the rise. Then Linlin and Kaido's era, with Newgate. And, Roger said what he said, the Great Pirate Age. An explosion of pirates. You had the Young Guns. You had Doflamingo at the time. Heavenly Demon Don Quixote Doflamingo eventually became Joker. You had Sir Crocodile. You had Dracula Hawkeye's Mihawk. Gecko Moria. You feel me? Shanks was, impacted. Buggy in his own way, Dark King Silver's Rayleigh and them retired. Scopper Gabon, who knows where he's at? Maybe in Elbath, maybe at Lodestar, who knows, right? Roger Pirates disbanded. Crocus is at Lookout Mountain, right? Who knows where Seagull's at and all them cats, So you had all of this happening, right? And you had all this activity. Dragon was impacted, but Dragon went a different route. But what we know of the Yonko, right? Let's look at matters, right? Because all of these, these previous ones that you heard us say legends, they were larger than life figures. Roger, Rocks. Rocks was so infamous he got blotted out from history. Joy Boy, Nika, right? Nolan in his own way. Larger than life figures, larger than life feats. And then you get into the era of the Yonko, right? That we, you had a Golden Lion Shiki, another one, larger than life, right? Edward Newgate, large figure, right? 17 feet tall. Kaido, like 23 feet tall, something like that, right? Linda, 28 feet tall. Huge, right? Just these big personalities, just these big. And so that's what people think of the Yonko. That's what people think of the Yonko. They don't think of the Yonko as actual pirates. Not saying they don't acknowledge them as pirates, but if you really like, they were doing the piracy game, especially Kaido. But when you really sit back and look at it, the old Yonko system wasn't really about piracy. It was about power, and power in the form of mainly raw might. They were more, when they say emperors, it wasn't so much emperors and pirates. They were more so emperors and empress, literally from a militaristic standpoint. You know, Pirate Empress Boa Hancock fit right in with that. When you look at the Shichibukai system, the Shichibukai system was a mix, was more toward on that gangster underworld pirate status. But it was the system that was beneath, it was the system that competed. People are like, how could the Shichibukai, they weren't as physically strong, they weren't as powerful. Because we're talking about pirates. We're not just talking armies and navies, things of that nature, fleets of ships, entire empires. Sure, the Yonko are emperors, but we're talking about piracy. And that's where Oda literally duped I won't say the entire fandom, but most of the fandom, right? So most of the fandom's thinking the image, to be a Yonko, you have to be just massively powerful. I'm not saying power, not saying strength, not saying those kind of martial power, military might doesn't come into play. No, it does. It definitely does. We won't deal with that. But that's not the crux of what it is. It's the foremost infamous pirates is really what the Yonko actually is in the New World. That's what we were introduced to. Go back to Garp's words, right? Y'all respect Garp, right? Go back to his words. Foremost infamous pirates. The foremost noteworthy pirates. Foremost powerful pirates. We'll get to that power aspect in a second. It's not physical strength. That was never the requirement for the Yonko. And I'm sorry that you got deluded. I'm sorry that you fell for the pace, for the okadoke. Because Doflamingo was right knocking right on the door of being a Yonko. So was Sir Crocodile. Gecko Mori fell short. They all fell short. They all fell short. And Oda explicitly showed that, but subtly, simultaneously. People just don't get it. The old Yonko were the gatekeepers too. That was another thing of what was messed up about the system. It wasn't about being Pirate King. Oh, we want to be. Sure, you wanted to be Pirate King, but you didn't really pursue being Pirate King. None of the Yonko did. None of the previous Yonko, they didn't. Now, Shanks, I'm tabling Shanks away from the other three. Newgate openly, he openly didn't want to do it, right? Closest to the throne, supposedly. Kaido, he was building, but it was over a slow period. So 25 years, bro. Lin, even worse. Oh, I want to be, but you were enjoying time sweetly in Totland. Pun, you can say unintended, but it was both figuratively and literally. She was enjoying her sweet time in Totland, right? Kaido over here getting drunk and enjoying his time over in Onigashima, throwing parties and shit. What did Law said, yo, Doflamingo, Yonko, y'all just been out here just chilling, just sitting near the throne. About to turn the whole world upside down. Roger talked about turning the world upside down. Right. So it'd be curious to find out how the pirate world was back in his day. But that you look at it, right? So what does a Yonko need, right? You need territories. You need it. Again, law, establish, the spheres of influence and such. That's another thing. You have to be infamous. People have to figure. They have to know your name. You have to know your feats. Or at least a lot of them. You have to be world renowned, right? You do have to have fleets and things to where you can go to head with these other empires. You have to have the power to be able to compete. But it's really about who are the best pirates, who are the best in the pirate game. And in the previous era, I'm focusing on the military might because that was the era that it was. Rogers' era was an interesting era, but you also didn't have as many competitors, and ones that did, they clash and built themselves up. But then, you could say Whitebeard, the Great Pirate Age, whatever era you want to consider it. It was the era of the absolute monsters. Now, with the new era, it's the era of piracy, man. They called it the golden, the great age of pirates. But was it really though? Was it really? That great age of pirates is very much in question. Very much in question. Because how are they really being pirates? I mean, they were pirates, sure, but what piracy was really going on? The Marines were just able just to chill. The world government, when they weren't really a threat. Right now, the world's about to be in chaos. We're not even including the Revolutionary Army in this regard. We're just talking about the pirate world. Everything's been turned on its head. Two of the worst generation, and two the we'll get into it, but the what did you say, cabin boys, whatever you want to consider them, the rookies, I guess, on Rogers' crew. And shoot, Teach was under Newgate. You feel me? The Apprentice Pirates. And you got Luffy, who in his own way was influenced by Shanks. So you had the young guns. It's finally the era. All the old heads, all the old guard is out the way. It's kind of like in its own way, if you ever watched The Godfather or read the Mario Puzo's The Godfather, Michael Corleone, when the baptism by fire, when they took out all of the old dons, right? The Tatalia, the Corleone family was his, Michael Corleone. But the Tatalia, the Stooge, it's been a minute. But yeah, the others of the four families. It's like taking out all the old heads, and now it's our age. Our age. I mean, Teach was like, oh, it's my era. Buggy, all of them are like pretty much 40 and below. Think Teach is 41. I know Teach is 41. Buggy and Shanks, I believe, are the same age. I think at 39. And Luffy is 19. So it's now a young man's game, relatively, right? How it should be. It shouldn't be a bunch of these old heads. That's not even realistic in a world of piracy, because the world of piracy, technically, if you go back to like the golden age of pirates, right, in the Caribbean, most average like 2 years. So actually, Luffy's, honestly, his rise is actually realistic from a what a real pirate was. Also, a number of them aren't these old heads who are going to be on the sea. They're not large. No, they're regular men. And you can say, well, Teach is 11 feet tall. Sure, but is he viewed like that? Like, do we view Teach? We know he's big. But do we view Teach? No, we view him like a regular dude. Shanks is a regular dude. Luffy's a regular dude. Buggy's a clown. He's a regular dude, man. None of these guys look like Newgate. And even the portrayal that Oda has done, he's crafted. Look at how he's portrayed. People question, they're asterisk on all of them. And we'll get to all of the Yonko, but I've been setting up the entire thing because Oda set up these expectations, these wild, lofty. And then people are like, but Lin, she's incompetent. She's not really incompetent, but Lin's incompetent, and Kaido's this, and Newgate is this. This isn't how a Yonko should be. Where did you get how a Yonko should be? Why did you don't believe the hype on some public enemy? Don't believe the hype. Why'd you fall for the hype? Well, that's what Oda told you. You just believe everything you hear. It was always in rumor. That's the entire point. It's about a matter of perspective. You see, Otis made y'all fall for the okie doke, as I said at the beginning of the video. Now let's look at each of the Yonko in their eyes. Let's start with Redhead Shingsu, the most infamous of all of them presently, right? Shanks, who's been in the game longest, 6 years. Now, the way that the story alluded to, it made it sound like the way that Newgate talked about it, it made Shanks sound like he had been for over a decade. But Oda released it 6 years, so Shanks was 33. 4 years pre-Tom 6. So Shanks was new to the game, relatively. You know what I'm saying? A new Yonko. We don't know how Shanks became a Yonko. And that's the thing. We don't know about the rise. Like, the old heads, they rose slowly, gradually. even Roger over his time of how he accrued his 5.5 billion berry bounty. Newgate a bit over 5. Roger was or was it just straight 5? I know Roger was slightly over 5.5. Newgate was either directly 5 or it's like 5 something something with his name. You know, um, Kaido was 4.6. Linlin was 4.3. Well, they amassed all of those bounties over a long period of time. We know how difficult it is to raise a bounty. Shanks has over a 4 billion berry bounty. How? See, that's the thing that people always, we don't even know about the Rocky Point incident, for example, with Law, which gave him a higher bounty than Luffy. Even though Luffy, and I keep saying Luffy's bounty has been suppressed, but we don't know why Shanks' bounty is so large. We don't know Shanks' career. There's a large, like, you can say 12 year, you see large gaps, but he was able to get over 4 in under 40. So to say Luffy's wrong for what Shanks was able to get a 4 billion berry bounty under 40. Not too far from Linlin. Not too far from Kaido. 1.5 from Roger. A bill from Newgate. And he's not even 40. Half the time of them. Now, Roger died in his 50s. Newgate was in his 70s. Newgate, only a bill more than Shanks, who is literally half his age. Think about it. This should tell you what Oda's trying to indicate here, okay? Just with the bounty. So Shanks, we know he was born in the West Blue. There's a theory out there. All we can really do is speculate. So he's born in the West Blue, brings sake from the West Blue. According to Shanks, he's born in the West Blue. For all we know, he's either half, possible slave, partial celestial dragon, maybe son of a slave or something of that nature. Woman was a slave. Who knows, right? We don't even know where God's Valley was. Was God's Valley in the West Blue? We don't know. We know Nico Robin was from there. Nico Oliva in O'Hara, that's in the West Blue. They knew Roger. Roger wasn't just in the Grand Line. People tend to forget this. Because in South Blue, that's where Ace was born. Roger traveled, right? So who knows? Who knows where God Valley was actually at, right? And Shanks possibly, Buggy's from the Grand Line. We'll get to that later. But Shanks, as a baby, maybe Roger, took him on. Roger, Alien, them took on Shanks from God's Valley. So possibly God's Valley was in the West Blue. Who knows? Maybe it was in the New World. We don't know. We don't know where God's Valley was at. So Shanks is from there. Shanks gets raised as a kid. Roger's crew, encompasses that. Does not go to Laugh Tale because he stayed with Buggy. And, Roger gave him the straw head. He inherited aspects from Roger. We see him crying. We see him take his time. He starts to amass his crew. Yasop, Ben Beckman, Yasop, Lucky Guru and them start to amass more. We see him in Fushi Village a decade later. Then, pretty much not even a decade goes by, he's a Yonko. He was already a noteworthy pirate in the New World. He was already, and then there was the clashes with Dracula, Hawkeyes, and Mihawk. Eventually, the world's greatest swordsman, who believe is 42. I believe he's 42. So Mihawk's a little bit older, right? Shanks must have did something. We don't know if he took out a Yonko. We don't know what all he's done. But he's mainly chilling. But he roams throughout the seas on the Red Force, right? Territories. We know of one confirmed island that flies his flag that the cannibal Bartolomeo showed up on. I think Elbaf is honestly I've been saying that for years, is honestly one of his territories. But yeah, Shanks. It's craziness. Normal looking guy with one arm. He gave up an arm and did not lose strength. I believe he gave up his fighting arm, unless he was left-handed the entire time, because I think he still has his left arm. But his physical strength now, mind you, was strong enough to clash with Newgate. We know about his hockey game, his on point. Right? Especially his Conqueror's hockey game, his on point. And so he's got no devil fruit. And he's just an absolute monster. You know, you could say trained by Dark King Silver's Rayleigh more, but just Shanks is an absolute monster, like Roger, like Rayleigh, right? Then let's look at Newgate. I mean, not Newgate, Teach. Teach took over Newgate's spot, right? Modeled in a lot of ways with his fleets, 11. I think Newgate had 16. I always got 14 or 16. I always forget how many. But anyways, so Teach, you know, we see his rise, and I'm probably going to do an entirely another video on how really Luffy's responsible for the rise of Teach. But you see how he did. It was meticulous, and he waited for literally decades. He was on Whitebeard's ship since he was 10, right? And clashed with Shanks and Buggy back in the day. They noticed he had an abnormal body. Whether he already had his third devil fruit or not, I mean, there's the theories of the octopus and more. And shout out to all those great speculations. Anyways, doesn't sleep. Possible different personalities, three different hearts. I've heard it all. You know, great speculation. But anyways, so we know he scarred Shanks some undisclosed time, and Shanks wasn't caught off guard. He was for real. He said that to Newgate. You know, he had these like ways of claws. He got three guns. It's the whole thing with threes and whatever. But he planned it out. He was gonna capture Luffy, but then he utilized Ace, right? Became a Shichibukai. Got into Impel Down. Got the level sixers, also thanks to Luffy. And got Shiryu, you know, boom, already had his own crew, the Blackbeard Pirates. A lot of no-namers at the time. See, we don't actually know what their strength levels are. That's the thing. Blackbeard was the unknown. He was the ignorant. And he should have been known. But Oda subverted expectations. Kills. Or you can say put the coup de grace, him and his crew put the coup de grace in Newgate, right? Takes Newgate's devil fruit. Already had the Yami Yami no Mi. Already killed Thatch. And by the way, shout out to Edward and Thatch and Teach, as well as if you understand Blackbeard, our world's Blackbeard, you had Edward Teacher, Edward Thatch. Oda played it up with the connection with Edward Newgate, Marshall D. Teach, and Thatch, right? The 4th Division commander was the cook on Whitebeard Pirates, who Teach killed. Someone can say murdered. I'll just say killed for now because we don't know the entirety of that aspect. Anyways, so he takes those. Then a year later, the Payback War defeats Marco and the remnants of the Whitebeard Pirates because of Yonko with only a 2.2 billion berry bounty. Interesting, because we know that Katakuri had a 1 billion berry bounty, a bit over 1 billion. Jack had a 1 billion straight up, and King had what was it? Was it 1.4 or was it 1.3? I think it was 1.3 something, and Queen is like 1.3 or 1.2, something like that. You know, we have that aspect 2.2, so over 2 billion is a threshold of Yonko, right? He's in, was taking over much of Whitebeard's territories and all that good stuff, right? We see he played that game. So Shanks, we don't know how he rose directly, but you can say he was the phenom, right? In a lot of ways, and moved, and the balance of power. We see that he talks with the Gorosei. We see all that good stuff, right? He's the peacekeeper, but he's the fulcrum in a lot of ways. We see that Teach was the schemer. Again, different style of piracy, and this is very actually true. It's no longer just this military might being thing. Now let's look at Luffy. I mean, we all know Luffy's story and followed it. Started out from the East Blue, beat every pirate, including Buggy, by the way. Who, by the way, or did he actually really defeat Buggy? That's asterisk question mark. Actually defeated Buggy. Buggy was the only one in East Blue. Obviously, I'm not including Newgate. I mean, not Newgate. I'm not including Hawkeyes. I'm not including Mihawk, right? Who legitimately has an adversary he should have killed Luffy and Zoro. Honestly, Buggy was more powerful, most powerful in East Blue. I don't care what his bounty says. He was the most powerful pirate. He was the most experienced. He was the best pirate in East Blue. All along was Don could get that out of here. Kuro, get that out of here. Alvy to get all that out of here. It was buggy, right? And Oda, again, the subversion. We'll get to buggy in a bit. But so Luffy cleans up the East Blue, right? He gets a 30 billion berry bounty. He gets on the map. Then, the whole thing with Wapple, kicks Wapple out. We get to Alabasta. Defeats Sir Crocodile. Gets 100 million. Puts himself on the map. Doflamingo's paying attention. The world government is paying attention. Blackbeard's paying attention. I said Shanks was the phenom. Luffy is literally, the term supernova for the super rookies. If Shanks is the phenom, Luffy is the anomaly. He's the explosion on the scene. Luffy's just coming here. Now, you had Kid, but Kid had a higher bounty, well, he did some things. Luffy does a bunch of shit, right? In his lobby. Thriller Bark. Punches a celestial, with that. Gets a 300 million. Now, Oda played with us, right? And we see other people that have, but again, they had a long history. Think about it. I say a couple months, some can say a few months, regardless, under a year, Luffy amasses a 300 million berry bounty. And I say it was underplayed, right? Because the Gecko Moria one wasn't even reported. They didn't even want to give him the credit for taking down Sir Crocodile. Kid, we don't know why. We don't know why Law got their bounties like they did. But it is what it is. So, even after the whole thing with Impel Down, Marine Ford, all this time also gaining allied nations, right? Eventually you can say his territories. He's only given, because they don't know his whereabouts, they don't know his condition, but he's only given a 400 million berry bounty. Law has his frozen at 440. This is what I'm saying. The junk is being suppressed by the Marines with these bounties, right? So Luffy's doing all this craziness, and other pirates are on the equivalency. And then when post times, the whole thing with Fishman Island, whether that was known by the Marines or not, forms an alliance with Law, takes down Doflamingo, Joker, Underworld Broker, Linchpin, only gets 500 million. Now we know that Doflamingo's bounty was 3, but come on, man, Doflamingo was worth more, and he should have been like a bill, right? It's only, but then again, Jinbei was capped at 400, and Weevil was capped at 400. See what I mean? So there's this literal playing of games by the Marines, by the, the Navy, the world government, of what these bounties actually, are versus what they should be. So that also mess with people, right? And it's not just about power, it's about what you do. So, and I know Oda's slowly building the thing, but Luffy should have had a higher bounty long ago, right? Because Shanks had 550 mil. Sabo had 602. We don't even know what Sabo's done to get his bounty. Just saying. Chief of Staff, but I'm just saying we don't know what Sabo's done, right? So Luffy was doing all of this. Law, gets bumped up a little bit, gets some credit, gets the 500 mil, right? Then Luffy goes into Whole Cake Island, causes a havoc. Some say, he's the leader with the whole Capone, even though Capone Gang Beige is there. Luffy takes down Lord Cracker. Luffy takes down Katakuri, gets a 1.5 billion berry bounty. Morgans begins to gas him the whole thing and say, hey, yo, we got the 5th Emperor on the seat. The 5th Emperor has arrived. All the big dogs. Sakazuki is Fleet Admiral. All the Yonko don't buy it. Lin's like, oh, this is cap. Nothing but cap. Pure horseshit. Morgan's you on that foolishness. You got Teacher's like, man, young blood, you ain't ready yet, no. And Kyle's like, man, nah, bro, I'm not acknowledging you yet, young man. I'm not doing that. Y'all still in them little power games. We ain't doing this. We're not believing Morgans. And then Shanks said, about that time, yeah, Luffy, yeah, I knew it. I knew you would have won. Anyways, we get to Wano. You know, Kaido put in that work, cleaned up Luffy, right? Everybody, oh. Then Luffy came back. Eventually, Yonko fall, takes down Kaido, gets 3 bill. Again, suppression. Has Sun God Nika. Has the Hito Hito no model Nika, mythical devil, Zoan, devil fruit revealed, awakened, and all that good stuff. Luffy's officially in Yonko. We see Luffy's yard. Luffy been putting in work. He's got a 3 bill balance. Okay. Now we don't know what Buggy's is presently, right? As I'm making this video. But let's look at it. People don't want to believe in Buggy. I said Buggy deserves. First of all, Buggy should be admiral level, and for a variety of reasons I can get into. Now, other people talk about Buggy's delivery service. I said, listen, he's got territories, he's got the infamy, he's got the pedigree, just like Shanks being under Roger. Knows Shanks. Is associated with Luffy. People tend to forget about that. He's associated with 2 of the Yonko. All 3 of the Yonko were involved in the Impel Down incident, by the way. We just gonna forget that. He was a large part of the breakout. He took a lot of the Impel Down, fugitives, if you will. Right? Came a Shishibukai. Second Yonko to be a previous Shishibukai. See what I mean? So he was already, you could say that Shishibukai were on the threshold of being Yonko. Because you could consider how Joker, if Hawkeye's had his crew, he'd be a Yonko. So that's another one. Sir Crocodile was on the threshold. Gecko Moria was on the threshold. And fucking Boa Hancock's on the threshold. All of them on the threshold of being Yonko. You just weren't Yonko. Right? So keep that in mind. Right? So Buggy's on the threshold, becomes a Shichibukai, has all, his fleet and people. Now, Mr. Morge, shout out to him. He talked about how, they were too weak as a crew in it. Man, listen, dog. Listen, dog. Let's look at the other candidates, shall we? Like I said, Hawkeye's doesn't have a crew. Okay? So he's X'd out. The Kid Pirates, too fucking weak. Besides Kid, Useless Captain Kid, too weak. The Heart Pirates, get that joke of a crew out of here. The Surgeon of Death, Trafalgar D. Waterlaw, is literally carrying that. Herculean like LeBron, carrying them. Like James Harden, carrying them. All right? That's what he doing. He carrying. Even law fans is like, God damn. They come around to the truth about the Heart Pirates. He is hard carrying. Hard carrying them, right? So no. Capone game, Beiji, they nasty. But Capone isn't quite that dude just yet. Even though Capone was, Don of Dons, the boss of boss, the capo de capo in the West Blue, as a godfather. But, he hasn't gained that infamy. Uses Captain Kid, he did something, but he came up. But a lot of people were believing that, in the fandom, Kid and Law should not have the same bounty as Luffy. Yes, the whole Pirate Alliance, but it took both of them to take down or defeat, Lin Lin, while Luffy did relatively solo dolo against Kaido, when we know they all fought in that. But we know what happened, and it's just like, it's the suppression. Now you can say, well, Buggy, Law was a Shichibukai too. Who believes Law is Yonko? No, nobody believes. Oh, and the people that say, well, Kid and Law should replace. What? Why? They have no territories, no fleet, no real infamy. Let's keep it all the way 1,000, right? Who honestly believes they deserve to be Yonko? Truly, to take them seats from Kaido and Lin Lin? You want to question Luffy with power, but then you want to put in you. Listen, I'm a Kid fan. I ain't doing that. Now, I'm not saying Kid and Law ain't nasty. I ain't saying they can't come up and ain't that deserving of stuff, but come on now, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Come on now. It's question marks for people whether they could defeat Katakuri and King. It's question marks. Could they defeat Marco? It's question marks. Right? There ain't no question marks for Luffy. We know he's taking them down. We've seen him take down Katakuri. He's taking down King. He's beating Zoro. If he's beating Zoro, he's beating Law. And you could say he's beating Kid, definitely. You can name. I'm not saying these easy fights. He's beating Marco. He's beating everybody. Remember, Teach defeated Marco in the Remnants of the White Beard Pirates. He's defeating them. Yes, he's defeating them. Right? And Marco, did we get Marco's bounty? Was Marco's bounty like 1.4? I'm trying to remember what Marco's bounty was. I think it was like 1.4 or something like that. Anyways, forget if we got Marco's bounty. I do not remember at this direct time. But anyways, so we have that. But Buggy, right? So Buggy's done all this. Buggy, like Luffy, with the rise. He's got the pedigree. He's got the everything. What doesn't Buggy have? And I'll say Buggy, all he has to do is just awaken the devil fruit. I say he has Conqueror's Haki. All of these gentlemen have Conqueror's Haki. They got, Law, that's another thing. Law ain't got a Conqueror's Haki. Come on now. Buggy, work on his devil fruit, refine his devil fruit game. And I say another thing. Captain John's treasure. People say, he could have possessed a possible ancient weapon. He could have done something crazy. Likely. Just escaping from the Marines. Just escaping from the Marines. We don't know who all, they said it's defeating the Vice Admiral, escaping from the Marine, doing whatever Buggy did. Some say maybe, I think Mr. Moore threw in the possibility of Hawkeye's, Weevil, and, possibly getting some of the shit you got. Even though I do think that Hawkeye's is with Shanks for a variety of reasons. Another time, another video. But and it's not just a one; it's a reason why I think he's with Shanks. But anyways, it's actually a lot of story elements that kind of point in that direction. That he's actually a secret member of the red-haired pirates. But anyways, I digress. Buggy, because people think he's too weak. He's the weak king. So wrap this all up, because this video I know is decently long enough. All of the present Yonko actually reflect piracy. Right? Now you can say, well, Luffy, he didn't really steal from ships and yeah, but Luffy, in all intents and purposes, he's a pirate, really. Because he's caused mayhem on the seas. Think about the British government. Think about, if you will, back in the Imperial Japan during the feudalistic era. Think of, China. Think of any of the, the United States. They would probably, whether it be a terrorist, pirate, whatever, that is what Luffy is to the world government. He's a terrorist. He's a pirate, right? And he's caused mayhem. He's got influence, infamy, everything pretty much to be a Yonko. He has Alabasta. You say Water 7. He's got Zoe if they know about it. He's got Fishman Island. He's got Wano. He has a number of kingdoms under him. Right? And then he has Grand Fleet. He's got a Yonko level crew that was already a top 10 most dangerous crew when they pulled up into the New World. After defeating the Don Quixote pirates, became a top 6 crew. Now they are a Yonko crew. True story. Period. Listen, you need 2 admirals to pull up on it. Ain't nobody want to see them. No one wants to see the Straw Hat Pirates right now. No one wants to see the Straw Hat Pirates right now. Only Yonko crews are competing. No other crews are competing. That's a fact. It's proof. Proof is in the pudding. Nobody wants to see him. You feel what I'm saying? He's got a 5,000 man Grand Fleet, as I mentioned. He got everything. He's got the infamy. He's got all of it. And then he's got the pedigree. Monkey D. Gorp's granddad. The revolutionary Monkey D. Dragons, his pops. The world's most wanted man. Come on now. 3 billion berry bounty. Which probably should be pretty much 5 bill at this point. Leasing the 4 bills. Let's be honest. Come on now. So you have that. He came up by going through the ringer. Again, I talked about his resume. One of the best resumes in history. Legendary resume. He could retire already now and he's remembered as a legend. Legendary resume for Mugiwara, for Straw Hat Monkey D. Luffy. Phenom Shanks. He came up and done. He's the fulcrum. He's playing the political game. He's playing a political game in the world of piracy. He's playing a political game and with the world government. I think Shanks probably if from an underground situation, everything alluding to him with Saki, he probably runs. He's a rum runner. And if you go back to piracy, rum was a huge thing. Sugarcane, tobacco, rum. He's probably got the monopoly on alcohol in the world. He probably does. Which would make him a very wealthy man. Even though they be looking like, you say, on blankets and stuff, the red hair pirates are probably the wealthiest crew in the entire world. If I were to be completely honest, like, no cap. Like, I've never really even put that out there, but they probably, right, just cruising the seas, living the lives of luxury, they always got alcohol. And they always got alcohol, and they run the alcohol industry. Let's just put it that way. I'm throwing that out there. That the red hair pirates have them, and I've kind of think I've talked with Fire Angel Chris and a couple cats. But I think the red hair pirates run the alcohol, run liquor in the world. They are the run runners. And if you know bootlegging, first of all, Capone should get in on that. But they run. We see that there's the shipping magnet. We've seen that the drug Piccolo with the, I think, with the corpse, with the funeral services, things like that. There's all kinds of big news Morgans with the information broken, and more in the World Economic Times. I forgot who the dude, one of the dude got whacked by the whole Tomate Bago box. But anyways, like there's the different underworld. So Shanks controlling the alcohol market in the underworld. We see Joker was with the weapons and Kaido was with the weapons. So, there's that. Then and Lin Lin had the whole thing with the candy supply. So alcohol, give Shanks that alcohol. I'm just saying, makes perfect sense. Buggy would, kind of becoming his own way the king of the underworld now, replacing Joker. People have alluded to that. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. And then Teach is all over the place. Pirate Island, Beehive, Honeycomb Island, full of that island, however you want to refer to. Influence in the Grand Line, even with Peach, doing the shenanigans. Jesus Burgess doing what he does. Teach came up as a schemer. Buggy came up with, as the weak king. So we have all the aspects of piracy going on. Buggy with the mercenaries and all of that jazz. Buggy and Teach at one point were the privateers, were the Shichibukai, right? So it's just like Oda right now, he set it up that the present system with how everything in and how he's built up all of these characters since the beginning of the story, since early days of One Piece, deserve to be here. Sorry, as much as I love Useless Captain Kidd, he doesn't deserve to be a Yonko. Trafalgar D. Waterlaw doesn't deserve to be a Yonko. What are we going to throw in a Rogue? Like, what are we doing? What are we talking about? These four are the perfect fit for piracy. They really are. Oda literally set it up, crumbled, shook things up, crumbled it, and like a phoenix arise from the ashes. Boom. The actual Yonko system. The actual foremost infamous pirates in the entire world. And it's really not debatable. Unexpected one to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me your thoughts on the matter. And give me any other thoughts that you may or may not have, or you may have. And any suggestions or whatnot, any topics or discussions you want me to deal with, we'll possibly get that for you. All right, y'all. A beautiful day, beautiful night. Peace.